Hello, dear seekers of truth and light. This is another video about John Newbrough, the false prophet. The first 8 were focused upon the misconceptions about how Newbrough channeled Oahspe and how he hacked Oahspe based on newspaper reports, often with John Newbrough's own words. This video is going to be the first in a series about John Newbrough's actual life, and I'm going to call it Not a Faithist Life, 1828 to 1874. Hope you enjoy it. Please pause the video and read. I won't say everything that's written here. I'm just trying to make this go along as smoothly as possible. Thank you for listening. I'd first like to say that I am a longtime reader of Oahspe, many decades, since I was a young teen, in fact, and I think the world of the book. It was a difficult book to understand, especially for a young Catholic who really didn't have anyone to talk to the book about. For a decade, I never met anyone who had even heard of the book, but as it went by, I figured things out, not everything, but a few things out on my own. And I was very grateful when I finally made contact with Irma Jean Lee and through the Cosmic Voice to thereby begin fellowships with other Oahspe readers. And one of my questions always was, who is John Newbrough? And what is this book Safaf really all about? John Newbrough was born in 1828 in Mohicanville, Ohio, and it is reported, allegedly, that he was psychic from an early age, and he was beaten by his father for this. Seems very unlikely, since in 1874 he published his own book, Spiritualis, where he basically flatly stated he was agnostic. He had no idea if there were such a thing as a valid psychic or a valid medium, and he said he didn't have any idea. If that were true, then why would he have been psychic as a youth? That would have certainly been proof to him enough, but this is simply another contradiction in his series of conflicting lies. 1844, he entered medical school. His mother supported him to get through by selling eggs and wool, and he got in trouble in medical school, where he studied dentistry as well, when he wrestled one of his classmates and paralyzed him, so he became quadriplegic. He couldn't move anyway, and he was a strong man, and the person he crippled, his mother was a widow, and they were in desperate circumstances. So this is another case of Newbrough seeking glory and to prove his supremacy above everyone else, even as a young man. He's in medical school. He should be serious, learning on how to help people. This is not evidence of him being a spiritually person. Very sad, but this is not the first time he hurt someone in his life. Well, I should say this isn't the last time. Okay, while he was in school, 1848 came around. That's the dawn of Cosman, when thousands would gather for spiritualism work, as well as building over 100 New Age communities of every spectrum. I think a lot of people read the Book of Jehovah's Kingdom and they think, wow, this is such a great idea, a utopia where Jehovah is worshipped and children are raised to be angelic-like. But no, there were hundreds of such communities all over America and even across the world. So, in fact, Newbrough actually joined 2 communities before Shalom even took place. So that was not the first by any means. At any rate, in 1849, he did graduate from medical school as a doctor and as a dentist. In the end, he would choose to be a dentist because he couldn't stand the sight of blood. Now, After that, when he graduated, did he go into his practice and being such a spiritually minded person, he'd want to help people through his medical practice? No. No, instead he went to California for the California Gold Rush to make his fortune. And he wasn't there just for a little few months. He was there for like 2 years, possibly more than 2 years. And this is where he met his Freemason friend, John Turnbull. And then when they found a lot of gold and they made a lot of money. And what did they do? Well, did Newbrough go back to dentistry? No, no. There was a gold rush in Australia. He was there in Australia from 1851 to 1855. And again, with the same partner, John Turnbull. And again, they found gold and they made a good deal of money. So that's Newbrough, seeking fortune, fame, glory. In 1855, which would have been soon after the Australian Gold Rush work that he was doing, he published a book called Lady of the West, or The Gold Seekers, which was a sensationalistic novel combining Western setting with a young woman who is from the city and she's in search of gold and has a lot of colorful characters. It didn't receive much attention. It did, however, paint Native Americans as in a very racist manner. They're destitute, begging for bread, and they looked like the most ridiculous people. Real nothings are the Indians. And anyway, it was a very racist description. It's not very New Age at all. And, I mean, Newbrough is not very New Age at all in his viewpoints. Okay, 1857, again, dentistry, not yet. He's going to join for 2 years a spiritualist community, a colony in Kielton, New York called the Domain, and it fell apart due to sex scandals and running out of money. And he was there. I don't have any information about how that went, except to say free love and the abolition of all governments was their goal. 1859, Newbrough goes to Scotland, where he begins his Masonic studies. Over 2 decades, became 33rd degree level Mason, the highest you can go. Also, his famous partners at Shalom, Dr. Tanner and Andrew Holland, they were also Freemasons. In fact, all of Shalom pretty much was a Masonic effort. Interestingly, as soon as Newbrough joined being a Mason, which would have 1859, until his death in 1891. By the way, Newbrough never stopped being a Mason. He was buried with Masonic rites, and he's buried right now in a Masonic cemetery, the remains of his body. Anyway, the leader of his group was the famous racist Albert Pike, who said, "I took my obligation to white men, not Negroes. When I have to accept Negroes as brethren or leave Masonry, I shall leave it." So it's racist. Black people were not welcome then, and pretty much nowadays, if you go to any Mason lodge, you're not going to see anything but white men, usually rich men. Anyway, so during this time, Masons basically are all the rich white people, and they help each other just for greater power, greater control of all the industries, and they work in the background of things, and there's a lot of bad activities associated with them, anything from, which basically makes it look like witchcraft, satanic worship, and right now in France, there's a murder scandal going on with the Masons there. They've been able to keep their crime secret most of the time, but anybody that's actually been in there, especially the higher you go up, the more devilish their activities are. This is why it's very hard to believe Newbrough ever was a part of this. If he really was truly a New Age thinker, he would have rejected Masonry outright, if only for the racism involved. And of course, yes, Albert Pike wrote, Lucifer, the son of the morning, is it he who bears the light and with its splendorous inaudible blinds feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not. Anyway, he loved Lucifer, who is a false god, even demonic. It's from the Roman religion. The Masons worship, honor all false gods that they can get their hands on, such as Osiris or Anubis from Egypt. You name them, they want them. So that's why Newbrough was probably hot on getting Oahspe in his clutches so he could promote more false god masonry beliefs. Yeah, so Lucifer was just a way of connecting with the powerful underworld where you get fame, fortune, and power by sacrificing probably mostly children to these demonic beings. They always present themselves as beautiful and wise and wonderful, but the truth is far from that. And that's not what faithism is into. If you look in Safa, there's like a dozen false gods that are mentioned, and in positive ways. It isn't like they condemn them. So it's like rubbing elbows with the rich and famous, or in this case, the demonic and debased. And it's disgusting, but Newbrough chose that. He never rejected it. Again, that's not a sign of what Oahspe and faithism is about. It's very disappointing. In 1859, Newbrough wrote a book of poetry, Woman's Will versus Man's Wish, and Newbrough, again, is against equality. He believes women shouldn't vote, they shouldn't be doing jobs, men's work, they're inferior, they should be in the kitchen, and so on. If you never heard of this book, well, it wasn't very popular, but he did write it. In 1860, another scam goes on. He patents a handheld counting calculator. Why he was working on that, why a dentist needs to have a handheld counting calculator, I have no idea. But anyway, this one was patented a month earlier before he did it. So obviously he saw the patent and then decided to just put his own patent out. Again, this is just an effort to be famous, I guess. Anyway, it's not the last time he would do this. In 1860, while in Scotland, Newbrough married Rachel Turnbull, the sister of Mason John Turnbull. She was probably about 10 years younger than him, which is cool. She didn't have any idea what she was getting into. Interestingly enough, in the same year, 1860, his dental assistant, future mistress and second wife, Frances Van de Water Sweet, was born. And that's a bigger age difference, about 32 years. Newbrough would eventually leave Rachel for this much younger woman. And again, that's not what Oahspe teaches. That's not even what his spiritualism research taught him. So this guy was a real hypocrite. He didn't practice what he preached in any way at all. At any rate, Rachel and Newbrough would move to New York and live about 20 years there. They would have 3 children, 2 boys, William and George, and 1 girl, Elizabeth. And he would betray them all. He would dump them in the 1880s for a much younger woman, his dental assistant. In 1867, after the Civil War had ended, he made another stab at immortality by writing The Fall of Fort Sumter, which was very also sensationalistic, his Lady of the West, a lot of powerful language, and I guess he just wanted to be famous. The focus was not about peace or anything. It was just the glory of violence, as far as I can tell. Again, this is not an Oahspean style kind of writing. Okay, 1868, another published work, much shorter, but it was about human teeth, Catechism of Human Teeth. Interestingly, he asked the question, I've seen it myself, you can download this, of course, is nitrous oxide gas dangerous? It is not. If the gas is impure or too fresh or too stale, it is too disagreeable to inhale and consequently prevents danger. Well, this is rubbish logic, doesn't make any sense. And the truth is, it's not true. One of Newbrough's patients will, in a few more years, die from this nitrous oxide. Also in 1868, there was another lawsuit about patents. This time it was about rubber dentures, and it's just another scam. Newbrough gets away with everything, and probably because he's a powerful Mason. Anyway, just another case of trying to steal people's ideas, which he would do more than once. 1870 is the tentative or suggested date when Newbrough first was visited by angels who asked him to take 10 years off, 10 years of purification and do service and get ready to improve himself so much that he would be able to channel Oahspe. This is not, again, as I wrote in the other book, other videos, Newbrough has different accounts. Sometimes there's one angel, sometimes there's many, sometimes it just came into his head. In this case, there were angels, more than one, and it's just contradicting himself as he always seems to do. When you're dishonest, you lie, you contradict yourself. 1872, March 15th, Mrs. Shaughnessy dies because Newbrough gives her too much of this nitrous oxide. In fact, she begs him. She says, "Take the bag away, I shall die." Well, unfortunately, he didn't listen to her, and she died. And again, he's not someone who seems to care much about other people. He's crippled people. This is manslaughter, I guess you'd call it. And there other people would die in Shalom too because of his haphazard, careless work, not the work of someone attuned with the angels. If he was attuned with the angels, as he says in 1870, why is he killing people? Anyway, he never was punished for this. There was a coroner jury, but they said he was guilty on all counts of how he administrated it and how he made it, but nothing happened to him. I don't know why. I guess being a powerful Mason excuses him from any repercussions. What a shame. Okay, 1873, this is another year where Newbrough claims he was visited by some angelic group. This time it's just one angel called Inu, specifically named, which Oahspe says is a surefire sign of Drujas, but, bad spirits. He wrote this in the New York Herald, April 13th, 1882. And again, this contradicts his other accounts, and the only thing I can think of is that back then, there's no internet. You could tell reporters in New York this happened, and you could tell reporters in Chicago something else happened, and you could be pretty sure that the contradictions wouldn't be noticed. So he just basically lied about the Oahspe, and he didn't get his story straight ever, really. That is unfortunate. Okay, 1873, he's supposed to be in this 10-year period of attunement, right? And so he's doing this sensational writing. Fetch here a coal of fire. I'll write such words as will burn up that black, that driveling nothingness, which has come to be such a shame upon the American name. I'll scorch their sweet indifference with words so hot their very souls shall quake and tremble. Here, put the blast fresh on and set it spinning over the continent. Give it thorns, red hot, 10 million scrap, to aggravate their senses out of the internal sleep that lets the politicians gulp them down. Singe them and prick them in every way. They turn with words so burning to their every sense that they never sleep nor rest, but sweat and foam in horrible dreams and nightmares. Well, it goes on. It doesn't sound like someone who's seeking a peaceful attunement with the angelic heavens, does it? What the heck Newbrough's doing, I don't know. He's just He's just throwing everything at the barn wall, and hoping something sticks and he'll become famous. Anyway, this is before Oahspe was published. 874, another declaration. This time there's no angels. Newbrough tells the Banner of Light, hey, I just thought of the idea of purifying myself. There's no angel. So I decided to become vegetarian. But he said 6 years, not 10 years, 6 years. So that would put it about 1874. Again, every account's different. Sometimes it's a typewriter. Sometimes it's a pen. Sometimes there's angels. Sometimes there's one. Sometimes it's just in his head. Saying these contradictions proves he was lying about the whole thing. So Newbrough never channeled this book. No way. Unfortunate. And I'm not telling people this because I want people to hate Newbrough. I want people to stop considering him like the great prophet of Oahspe and get rid of his Masonic ideas, which have held back this movement. At any rate, 1874, he does publish this book, Spiritualis. He interviews mediums who contact the next world, and he asks them questions. He asks the questions, they give him the answers, and he publishes both. He says, well, if spiritualism is true, what of it? No, I do not argue for or against this matter. My mind is not made up for that. So Newbrough is very agnostic about spiritualism, which is crazy if you take true his declaration that angels had actually visited him several years before. So both can't be true. He can't believe this and also have stated that angels visited him. And then there's another passage about whether you should divorce people or get married a second time. In this seance, they say don't do it. Of course, Newbrough would do it when he divorced his wife. Okay, well, lots of contradictions. Again, our goal is to free the Oahspe movement from John Newbrough, who hijacked it, hacked Oahspe with a bunch of garbage, especially in the book of Safaf. There are some other racist passages which I think you could say are due to Newbrough. And the man just was a charlatan of sorts. And there's not ended here. We'll carry on with his life in the next video. And to be honest, as bad as these things are, he does worse in the future. And we'll be documenting that based on what he said or wrote in letters